All right. First on today's agenda is from Ali to discuss his work on labeled perf counters in RGW.
Hey, thank you, Casey. Yesterday I opened up a PR that includes the first draft of perf counters cache and instrumenting uh, parts of the RGW for the front end operated counters to have labels on them. I'm gonna be testing this at a larger scale than I have locally over the course of the week, and any feedback is welcome. I know this is also going to integrate into work that Yuval and Ali Masaru are doing, and I know that the folks at Corey's company, I forget what it's called, also wanted to be in discussions about getting metrics to Prometheus as well. I don't really have much of an update past that. I'll link the PR in the chat.
Okay, there's also a link in the agenda.
Oh, great. Did you have any questions about it, Casey, or anybody else?
So I did scan it yesterday, and one point of initial feedback is that it's creating several different like instances of the perf counters for different apps like put, get, delete, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have a feeling that we're going to want all of those in the same instance since we're going to be doing the caching by bucket name or username. So you wouldn't want some apps like puts to be cached or evicted separately from get apps on the same thing. Does that make sense?
So yeah, it does make sense. The reason I made it that way was just I didn't know if we were gonna have I wanted to make sure there was flexibility so that when we added multi-site counters in for the future, or if there was other non-front end counters, there'd be an ability to have those as a separate set of counters. I absolutely can add put all the front end counters in the same instance. That's not an issue. One thing I would say about that is that at least from what's the metrics that are sent to Prometheus, they're individual. Like there's an individual metric for the puts and an individual metric from the gets, and either combining all those or setting them individually will send the same thing to Prometheus. I guess one of the reasons I also did it is that if a user or a bucket or something was particularly, or a set of them were particularly write heavy or read heavy, that we wouldn't have a bunch of zeroed out counters that get sent out every time, and they're not stored that way, and so they're not stored as well.
Yeah. All right. So what do you see as the next step for this? What kind of
I
testing do you want to do?
think Mark and I had been talking about he has a machine in the Folio lab. I think that's up. Is that upstream?
Yeah.
And we're gonna throw something. We're gonna put together some kind of configuration which has a 5 or 6 figure, or that has some very large number of buckets and users, so that the cross would be decently high. And we're gonna see how that goes with the exporter and how it goes in Prometheus. I've gotten the whole solution to work end to end locally, but for that, I've had single digits to dozens of users in buckets. Nothing too big.
Okay, that sounds good. Um, how does the cache eviction work currently?
The cache eviction, there's a config variable you set for the size, and when the size gets larger than that, then the counter is evicted from the perf counters collection and the cache, that being as well. And so, like, if user one bucket one gets evicted, and then it comes back an hour later and gets put in the cache, then the value should be zeroed out.
Right, okay. And the cache size is based on number of perf counters instances, which would be a different instance for each unique set of labels.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I was hoping you or Adam could take a look. I wanted to make sure I did made sure that the LRU was thread safe. And if you guys have any comments there or any ways that I can test that or any other feedback, that would be great as well.
Sure, I'll focus on that in review.
Thanks.
Any other thoughts
Hopefully,
on this work or suggestions for testing? Sorry, Elliot, didn't mean to cut you off.
no. I'm hoping to get some of the testing started this week and into next week. One more thing I might add when I talk to Mark about this is that the way the architecture is supposed to be is that there's one exporter per RGW. And so I guess a single exporter is always getting the counters from the RGW and then sending them off to Prometheus. Um, I don't know what the upsides or downsides are to that, but I guess it's probably simpler to just have a one-to-one relationship instead of one exporter doing a bunch of different requests or counter dump requests for a bunch of other RGWs.
Well, what I remember about Ceph Exporter is that it's um, just using admin sockets locally. So I
Yep,
think you would deploy one exporter per node, whether that's
yeah,
running one RGW or multiple.
that makes sense. I will, I'll look into the exporter more and because 'cause I'm not sure that I have the ability to even pass in multiple admin sockets to it.
Yeah, I forget exactly how it works, but it might be just listing a directory and trying to read from any admin sockets that it sees listed there.
Actually, yeah, no, that actually sounds right. You're right. Have the command open for what I was using to run it. Yeah, that's correct. So then it would be one per node. Okay, well that's something that I'm also something that I think getting set up for the testing will be beneficial to learn about to see how it can handle lots and lots of fast dumps, lots and lots of data being dumped.
Yeah, I tend to think the exporter itself will be fine, but it's more about um, how much we can actually store in Prometheus if we're feeding a ton of different combinations of labels.
Yeah.
All right, any other thoughts here? Thanks, Ali. Next on the agenda is from Tobias, feedback on his work to handle CORS options requests.
Hello. Yeah, I did add a PR to S3 tests to reproduce the issue. And then I have a PR open for RGW that solves the tests. It's kind of hackish though. I do add the logic to like the authentication data retrieval code path. So just wanted feedback on if that's acceptable or not, or if you'd want me to clean it up or move the logic somewhere else. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't fully understand the issue, but is that putting the logic there in the V4 path? Is that are there cases like auth v2 that would miss this?
I'm actually unsure if the issue itself would be in using V2 signatures. I'm not sure. Is there like a plan to deprecate V2 either way?
Actually, I think that our toothology testing is defaulting to V2. There's a way to request V4 signatures in S3 test config, but I don't think we ever enabled that in toothology. So I assume that what toothology is testing and what S3 tests does by default would be the V2 path.
Okay.
Ali, am I wrong there? Do you remember?
Sorry, say that again.
My recollection of S3 tests is that it's using V2 auth by default. Do you remember if we ever changed that?
No, I don't know. We haven't changed that. That's right.
I guess I could investigate adding tests that actually tries to reproduce it for V2 as well, and see if there's an issue there, because I'm actually not sure. Apart from that, yeah, just some feedback on that patch, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I'll try and see if there's a more generic place to put this logic. It doesn't look to me like it really needs any info that's that it's reading from V4 auth.
Yeah. The other alternatives I have is like either if you find a good place for it or add a helper function somewhere just to clean it up a bit. But I mean, I guess we could implement it as a complete like AVS strategy in the authentication layer, but that seems rather overkill for a couple of lines of code. But it would be cleaner though. Yeah.
Actually, I might have been
Okay.
wrong. It might be V4 signatures. Take a look at this line that I just pasted. From what I remember, get client that we're calling for most of the tests.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I also sorry.
I think what I think we wanted the ability to very easily toggle between V2 and V4, and I think that's something that's not in the test yet.
Okay, thanks, Ali. So Tobias, your change in S3 anonymous engine, I think, is pretty obviously correct. but you're just looking for a better place to do the rest of the validation stuff. Is that right?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Yeah, let's follow up on that in the PR then.
Cool. Yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I'm assigning myself for review. All right. Any other topics for today? Hearing none. Last call for topics. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. See you next time.